On civic forums, citizens around the world are discussing the role of government, not only in their own lives, but on the international scale. And one of the key debates is whether the government has the right to intervene on certain issues that affect citizens personally and professionally. So the question that I ask in this lecture is, when should the government intervene? And hopefully by the end of this lecture, you'll have a general idea of some of the contexts that governments intervene, and they can be broken down into two key areas: one, market failure, and two, redistribution. Market failure describes a situation in which the market fails to provide certain goods and services that a society needs to function at its most efficient level. Three examples of market failure exist that I'd like to discuss. Although there are many more, these are the three main ones that drive this point forward. The first one is negative externalities. And the best example to describe a negative externality is the use of a motor vehicle. An externality is the impact that a situation or event has on a third party. For example, although the driver is driving their car and has a relationship with their car, the fumes that their car produces affects other people or has negative externalities on other people. An example of a positive externality is clean air, for example. So someone who is not burning their own firewood in their backyard is not contributing to pollution that affects other people, the next door neighbor, for example. So that's an example of a negative externality. The next concept that we have when describing market failure is a monopoly. Often, industries will create monopolies in certain areas, and not only will they be able to control prices, but they will be able to control volumes such as food, water, and other basic services. This can make the average person worse off, and as a result, governments need to intervene to control prices in some areas or to control production to stabilize prices. I use the picture of the plane to drive a key point home about missing markets. Imagine for a moment that private citizens or towns or cities had to arm themselves with a defense force. Imagine the complete social chaos that could ensue as a result of having cities with concentrated armed weaponry and defense forces. Instead of having this kind of situations, governments or citizens outsource this to the government. And what they say is that they would like a national defense force. They would like the government to intervene on behalf of the cities, citizens, towns, and the like, to defend them in the case of an attack. And what that is an example of is the government acting on behalf, or the government intervening on behalf of citizens. Now we talk about redistribution. In the marketplace, there is often an inequality that exists between the owners of the production, the means of production, and the producers of those products. When we have an economic system that generates a lot of wealth, it often gets captured in the top % of society, the top 10%, in some cases the 1% of society. Governments need to intervene in the economy to redistribute that wealth into social services such as roads, hospitals, healthcare, and other public goods that make the whole of society better off. Given that individuals who have captured a large majority of the wealth would not otherwise redistribute it, that is the role of government. So, under these conditions, the government intervenes, and it is because of this intervention that policy analysts guide through their policies the ways and means through which these redistributions are conducted and the ways in which these market failures are rectified. In the following lectures, we'll be talking about 3 methods of policy analysis that help us address some of these market failures and redistribution issues.